Hello, everyone. So, episode 9. These days are going by quickly. So, today I have the lovely Lara Lee to chat to. She's going to tell us all about her history through relationships, really, and how she always seemed to attract the wrong fish, so to speak, and where it led her to where she is now. And she also had a journey through her cancer treatment as well. So we're going to touch on that. So it's going to be a great conversation. I'm going to bring her into the studio now and let her introduce herself.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Lara. Thanks for joining me today. You're looking lovely, as usual. You always So I was just introducing you there. You call yourself a love coach. So I think we should go back to when you first started. Well, I suppose having relationships and where it's taken you, how it's taken you, what you've been through to get to where you are now. So yeah, introduce yourself and we'll take it from there.
I work with high achieving women to help them to attract their perfect partner. So they're often attracting the wrong ones, and they're overgiving in their relationships, and they're attracting people who need men who need taken care of rather than who can match their energy and fire and everything. So we do the internal work so they can become the vibrational match for the perfect person who they want to actually, like, the quality man who they want to be with. My journey goes like way back from when I very first started dating, I guess, when I was like, around the age of like 16.
How did you realize? Sorry to jump in there. How did you realize you were? I suppose that took years of experience, but how did you realize you were attracting the wrong people? No, go back to when you were 16.
I probably started dating around then, and obviously, like you say, that it was after a few relationships, though, into my 20s and mid 20s, and you guys kind of think that it's gonna happen at some point, but the relationships I had were probably quite, in majority, quite unhealthy ones. I would say they were quite like toxic. Even one was really very scary, and I hate to think what would have happened if I didn't leave when I did. It was definitely not going in a very good direction. But I think it took me till I feel like I was quite addicted to love, because I felt like I had this void within me, and I was searching for it, like somebody else to fill that void, I suppose. And yeah,
where does that come from then? Is that the way you've been brought up, or?
I didn't realise. I'd always felt like that, this like bit of emptiness, and now I notice that, because I feel like the answer is because I didn't love myself and didn't know how to love myself. And if you're not taught, you don't know, and or our parents can't even teach us what they don't know. And I didn't have a very good relationship with my dad. Like, my mum and dad are together, we've got a good relationship now, but I didn't have a good relationship with him when I was young, and that really impacted my choices with men. So I think that's where it comes from. Obviously, everyone's dealing with different life situations and stuff, but it probably did come from that. And then when people do show you lots of attention, it's really like lovely, and you're like, oh, this is this is really, really nice. But they end up being quite like not very good relationships. And I basically got to the age of 32, and by that point all your friends are getting married and having babies, and I was looking around, and my decision seems to be getting worse and worse as time went on. And I was just like, why have my friends and my sister and got really, really great partners, and I keep on choosing these like not great partners.
Did you feel when everyone else was in relationships, do you feel like you were like, desperate's a horrible word, but did you feel like you were just like,
I started
anyone to, because you
I started to like kind of I completely stopped trusting myself, completely stopped trusting my judgment. and actually then you start going for people who aren't even your type, or you know, like you kind of, I suppose, like lower, like even your standards, or you know, just because you just get so confused with what you're doing, and yeah, and I definitely think my self-esteem was quite low, and I just remember thinking, like, so why you know, why do I keep on attracting this, and everyone else has got these like great quality partners, and then I suppose I had I call it my F this moment, where I'm like, right, I cannot go through this cycle again. Like, I think I was like, I need someone to rewire my brain or something. Like, I do not want to go through this again. And so
So did you think that yourself, or did
yes,
someone say to you, you
I
need?
felt like I was like, I think there's a common denominator here, and it's like me and my choices. So I just really thought, I don't want to go through this cycle again. And I'd always been interested in self-development, like since I was very, very young, like spirituality and self-development, and so I'd always read quite a lot, and I'd wanted to be a life coach since I was 20. So I'd gone for coaching. Like around this time, I'd started to go to different coaches for different things. So I knew that it was I felt like I need to go and see a life coach.
What made you feel like you wanted to do that? What?
I think because I had maybe been to one before, maybe a year or so before, but it just felt like, I think my friend was going to see somebody, and I thought, oh, she might be good for me, you know. So, and for this particular thing that I want to deal with, and she was really like, she wasn't a relationship coach, she was a life coach, but obviously it was all the internal work. And I quickly realised, oh, the problem is because I don't love myself, which is all about worthiness and desirability. And if you also look back at your relationships, that you know, you could always see what your relationship was like with yourself. Each relationship mirrors the relationship you have with yourself at that time. So relationships are really opportunities for, you know, if they're good, they're good. But if they're not, like, oh, what's this showing me? This is an opportunity to heal something. So yeah, no, I literally just stopped worrying about the right person turning up, and just believe that it would happen. But I just wanted to work on myself, and I'd kind of made peace. Like, I'd always wanted to get married and have children, but I was like heading towards 33 at that point, and I was thinking, if it doesn't I only want it if it's right. I don't want it just with anybody, or you know, or to settle. So I just really focused on myself, and I really went about reprogramming my mind. That's how I saw it, as a computer, and the beliefs that I had, they probably were never even my belief. That's what you hear people, you pick up from people, from the experiences, the relationships that you have as you go along. You start to create these stories and these narratives and these beliefs that may not serve you and be working against you. So I was just like, I'm going to start to be the intentional creator. I'm going to choose the thoughts that I want to think. And so I did lots of internal work for about 3 months, and then I met Lewis. And I was like, oh, there you are, like, you know, and it was just effortless and easy. Yeah. I was like, oh God, I wish I'd known about all this a long time ago. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot from all the relationships I had. And if I hadn't have had that, I wouldn't be doing this, obviously. So, you know.
I'm just curious about all those like bad relationships that were good for you. Were you attracted to the bad? Did you already know they were like that and think, because I know you're an empath, did you think?
Yeah. I think it would. I wasn't conscious. It wasn't conscious thing, but yes, you did. It's almost like, when you're an empath, they say, for instance, if somebody had a really difficult childhood, I was like a magnet to them. Yeah, so like, and I was like wanting to fix and save and rescue, and I can make them better. And, in some, but then obviously, like, you know, if they've had a really bad childhood, you can't, and it's actually you're gonna be in for it. You know.
You didn't know about that beforehand, then?
No, I wasn't conscious of that. Now I know. Oh, it all makes perfect sense. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that really fascinating, how, you know, we're attracted to people like that because of X, Y, and Z.
It's like it's just a magnet, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's just like they just like drawn to you. And it is all. I do believe
they're drawn to you because
both. I think both. Yeah, both. Yeah, and I think it's in your, like, especially if they're like that, you know, the love bombing and the stuff that can come with, in some of those situations, can come with it. It's like they're saying all the things that you've wanted to hear, and it's so full on and it's so exciting. But then as time goes on, the things that you found quite flattering in the beginning become very suffocating and not so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a mirrorverse. I always say it's like a mirror. I do totally believe it's a mirrorverse, and so you don't have to change anybody outside of you. You know, anybody else. You can't change other people, but you change yourself, and the people who would have been drawn to you just can't show up in the people. Yeah, they just can't show up in your life anymore because you're not a vibrational match. We're all energy, and so you work on yourself, and those people just won't show up in your life. And even if they did, you would not be drawn to each other. So you have to become what you want to attract.
So when you changed your energy and believing that you were worthy and that you started to love yourself, you gave off a natural energy.
Yeah.
That's when you attracted your.
Yeah, I think people will only love you and value you as much as what you love and value yourself. So again, it's a mirror back to you, a gauge. You can see that, and also if I hadn't have done that work on myself, then even if Lewis hadn't showed up, I would have ruined it.
Like self-sabotage kind of thing.
Without even realising. Then I would have dealt with situations differently, and it probably would have played out the same way. So, but because I really valued myself, and that's a really attractive quality as well to a man, I think. So people will only treat you as you allow them to, and it's obviously a lot of the time it's a lot of lack of boundaries. A lot of the women suffer with lack of boundaries, but they might have boundaries at work, but they might not be able to have it in love because that's a real sticking point for them, and they've always been so let down. So
that works with children as well, doesn't it? If you don't give children boundaries, then they overstep the mark, and you realise why you can't parent properly.
Yeah, your boundaries is boundaries for yourself and with others. So having healthy boundaries, and then when you start to put boundaries in and you start to value yourself, it's the treatment you receive completely changes. And also that builds your self-esteem once you start doing it, and you find it easier and easier each time.
So just to dig in a bit more about learning to love yourself. So how did you start with that? What did you have to do? Did you have to
It was like a light bulb moment. So I went for the coaching, and she was asking me some questions about myself. And for instance, I remember one of the first questions was, describe yourself as a child, and I was like, I was a really, like, I don't know if I said like ugly child, or really I was really like really not pretty, or that was one of the first things that I said. And she was like, oh, like that's really interesting you would talk about yourself like that. And you think, oh yeah, like I wouldn't, if I had had a child, I wouldn't speak about them like that. So why would I say that about myself? So in coaching, they are, when you train to be a coach, you're trained to ask powerful questions that then set you off on
thinking about
and they're like, oh, and then I was
rather than telling you why.
Yeah, so she did. So rather than them jumping in and rescue you, don't do that. But there's questions that you're just like, oh my god, like. And I remember when I realised I was like, oh, the problem is I don't love myself. And I even remember Googling, like, how do you love yourself? I was like, I don't know, because that's the thing, like, it's bandied around now on the internet, oh, love yourself, love you. But most people don't know what that actually means and what the actual work is around that. And it takes bringing lots of different things together. It's not just the one thing, that you can do to love yourself as such. So.
And I suppose everyone's unique, aren't they? Because it depends what they've been through and what childhood they had.
Yeah. And so how, because of all of my lived experiences and all the relationships I had, and then the work I did on myself, and then the training of the coaching and stuff, like, I know that really what it is when women come to me, it's I heal the relationship they have with themselves, because it's reconnecting them on a much deeper level, do like inner child work and things like that, as well as changing their beliefs and their narratives, releasing the fear, getting them in the energy of love, like loads of different things, understanding their attachment styles, because that all comes from childhood as well, like loads and quite a lot of metaphysical work as well, which I'm like quite heavy on it. Then they heal the relationship with themselves, and then what shows up in their life changes. And it's not just with the men, it's everything in their life gets better.
Yeah. So all relationships, all with
every part of your life, even work, everything gets better because and it's I say this to somebody the other day, like I feel like what I do is, apart from this work, what I do is I love them until they can love themselves, and then when they love themselves, then they just naturally attract a beautiful love to them. So it's just all it's a really good, it's an honor to be able to do it, and I also understand how it feels to feel that way, so
all the best coaches have been there, whatever it is that they're coaching, they've been there if they're a good coach. So fantastic. Can we touch on where your health journey came into this and whereabouts it was, and can you tell the audience watching what you've been through?
So in the last, I don't know if it's maybe it's coming up for 2 years, like a year and a half, just over a year and a half, I got diagnosed with colon cancer. So that kind of came out of nowhere, really. So I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know anything about colon cancer, if you're okay to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain how you knew, what you saw?
I was very lucky. So it was interesting. I just started having a little bit of bleeding, and so I went to the doctor straight away, the hospital straight away, and then I had a couple of colonoscopies after that, and because we didn't think it was going to be anything serious. There's obviously lots of reasons why it can happen, and it come back after the first colonoscopy that I had a complex polyp. So they were like, okay, that's fine, and there's no sign of cancer, fine, great. And so then, but they were like, we can't remove it. You need to go to the complex polyp person to have a look at it. So I had another colonoscopy. Yeah, he was like, yes, complex polyp, but we can't remove it.
What a polyp is?
Well, so I don't know if they know, because I remember saying
it's like a sac, isn't it? It's a sac going on where stuff gets caught in and it messes up with your.
So because I said to him, the expert he trains people, he does big talks on it, he's like an expert in polyps and complex polyps, and he said that he doesn't even know what causes it. Because I said, what causes it? And he was like, you'd be very rich if you knew that. Like, they don't even know what causes it.
So anyone can get them.
So he was like, okay. So he was just no, we need to remove it, but we can't do this under sedation. While I was in having the colonoscopy done, I just said, obviously you had just normal sedation. He said, you need to be knocked out for this, because we've got to go underneath it to remove it. So then they booked me in for that, like 6 or 7 weeks later or whatever, and went under. And when I came round, I felt sore, and I felt like I'd had something done, so I should be like, oh good, it's all been done. But I had this horrible feeling, and I don't know whether you can actually hear when you're out of it.
Possibly,
yeah, because I was just thinking like, oh, they're going to come around and talk to me about it in a minute, it's all going to be fine, because the far as I knew it was just being removed. And I just felt really frightened, and I was like, oh, and then he came in with the nurse or whatever, and I just saw his face, and I was like, he said, oh, it's not good news. And I was like, oh my God, if I got cancer? He's like, yeah. So he's like, it's just such a shock, because there was no cancer. Like, every time I had the colonoscopy, there was no sign of it. And he said, the thing is, you are too young for this, but they are seeing it more in younger people. So that's really interesting, because people could maybe even go to the doctors and they'll be like, oh, you're not in the right age bracket for that. But they are seeing it more in younger people. So it could be maybe, I was going to say poo-poo, but it could be like, exactly. Like, and just,
so does that mean it was a good job that you had a polyp then, because them removing it made it more visible? Or
no, they didn't remove it. So he went to remove it, and then he said he went to remove it, and he just turned it, and he said, oh, I've never seen anything like it, which is like, he said it just bloomed like a flower. And so they didn't actually touch it. So in that time, and I felt like in that 6 weeks when I was waiting to have it done, I felt like my symptoms had changed a little bit. So I feel like obviously they probably caught it at the earlier stage, because if you're taking a biopsy, you need to go and have a CT scan done tomorrow. And then you have to wait 2 weeks to find out if it's spread and how bad it, like if the cancer spread and how bad it is. So I'm glad that I had the mindset tools, because just trying to stay calm and not let your mind go to the worst places where you hear that word and straight. As soon as he said, yeah, you have got cancer. My first thing was like, oh my God, my son's only 7.
As soon as you
the worst thing, yeah.
And if you hadn't have had all that work, that mindset work,
it massively, all the tools and everything that I've learned and everything that I would teach other, it really, and knowing how important our thoughts are, and how much our thoughts, I do believe, affect our bodies as well. Your body responds to your thoughts and your feelings and your energy. So I just kept them, like, just trying to stay, like, pulling my mind back if it did go to bad places, but just saying I'm well, and talking to myself in a really nice way, not going, oh my God, I'm sick, because then I think then your body starts going, oh, you're really sick. So and then when they phoned about 2 weeks later, they said it's stage 2, it's quite early on. So like, I must have caught it at the earliest.
Luckily you went to the doctors.
Luckily for me, my body let me know straight away, and as soon as it did, I went, and and then it went down that road. But there were so obviously then I ended up having to have major surgery. They obviously got rid of the cancer, or they said we try and get good margins around it. I have to wait and see what, I didn't know if I was going to need chemo or anything, but they got rid of it, and they gave me a stoma while that part of my bowel was healing, or whatever, colon was healing. It's quite low down, and so then, a couple of weeks after I come out of hospital, they phoned me and said, if you've got it, it's all gone. So that was like, from being told I had cancer to being told it was gone, I think it might have been 6 weeks. It was just like a wild, it all went really quickly. But then obviously, so then you're still going through recovery and all the trauma of everything, because you just get swept along with it. You don't even, it's just the information's too overwhelming to take in, and the people are just throwing so many leaflets at you about cancer and about stomas and all of that, and obviously your body been through a huge physical change, and but so that was like the end of 2023 that I had that done, and then I've just had my reversal done of the stoma. So that was about 8 weeks ago now, something like that.
So you no longer have a stoma now?
No. So I'm healing up. that was it's a bit of a wild 18 months or whatever, but there were blessings that come from it as well. So that's what I tried to focus on when even in the beginning, I was like, just trust that everything's going to be okay, and know that there's going to be like lots of blessings that are going to come from this.
Can you talk us through those blessings?
I would say the main thing that it helped me do is when I was doing way too much and I was absolutely exhausted, and I was hairdressing 2 long days a week, 10 hours or whatever it was, and I was obviously being a mum, being a wife, school holidays, trying to run a home. I'd spent 2 years whilst around hairdressing, training to be a life coach as well, and then getting the proper recognised qualification. Then I realised, you can't, like, because you think you're just going to I'm going to be qualified, and then I was going to help people, and then you're like, oh no, now I need to
how
to be an entrepreneur and because it's an online business, and I don't know all this online stuff. So I've been learning all that, and then trying to set all these things up, and then started to do clients and gather testimonials, and I was just like, it was like carrying too many shopping bags. I was exhausted, and I think it was like, this sounds so bad. This is what women are like, because women are trying to do everything, and you just kind of, you're proud of how much you can cope with, which is ridiculous. But when I was told I was ill, part of me, I was so tired. I was like, the thought of laying down in a hospital bed was actually appealing, which shows
you needed that rest.
That's not a good place. Yeah, that's not a good place to be when you think that actually seems. What it did is it allowed me to walk away from the hairdressing, because I I liked my clients, I still liked what I did, but my heart was with the coaching. But it was too much.
Hard to let go of that without having a good reason, and that was a good reason.
Yeah, and I had to, and I had some of the clients for 20 years or whatever, so you have these close relationships, and but then when obviously you're poorly, like, you haven't got to explain yourself. You're just like, I'm poorly, I've just got to stop everything for the moment. And so it let that, and I had kept thinking beforehand, I really just need to be at home, because yourself, all of this things you do when you're first setting up these businesses where you don't get any money for, all the learning and the studying and bringing everything together, it's hours and hours and hours of work. You need to kind of be at home to do that. And I wasn't ever getting a decent amount of time to do it, because it was just such tiny windows, and I just felt like I need to be at home. But then obviously when I was recovering from the cancer, then I was like, now I'm at home and I've got the time while I'm recovering to start setting all these things up, and I'm not out doing all these other things. So it kind of like it realigned my life, I would say. And also it made me dig, so let the things fall away that needed to fall away. So that was a blessing. And it also made me dig a lot deeper, I don't know, consciously or spiritually or whatever. So I was like, I feel like it gave me a deeper awakening as well, which was quite powerful, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been, you're not pushed to the dark place.
Yeah. You look at life differently, don't you?
Yeah,
thinking,
exactly.
well, I'm going to live every day, and how do I want to live it?
And actually it even helped with that, because it helped me think, being not so bothered about, the visibility side of it, actually, that to be like, because recording yourself, even if you're just doing short videos and creating content and putting yourself out there, it can feel so vulnerable. But when you sort of like kind of been faced with something like that, and you hear that word and you think that could be it, and you like, oh, actually there's so much I want to do, and you realize, actually, oh god, it doesn't really matter, like, it doesn't matter, you just go and do the thing. It's like, stop overthinking it. It took away a bit of the fear of putting myself out there, because you just think, oh, like, you've got one life, you just got to go live it. So
yeah, I've heard that from I've got quite a few friends at the moment, actually, who have either been through cancer or going through cancer, and they said it just changes the whole way that they think about life and how they approach things. And we should all think that way, really, shouldn't we? We shouldn't wait until we have
traumatic event
to start thinking like that.
But people normally only do, or like, have these like have spiritual awakenings or make big changes when they've like been, normally you have to go through like a big life changing event, like a critical illness, like a marriage breakdown, these sort of things are the things that wake people up. So it's
like your life flashes before you, and you're like, I need to make the most of this.
It's life going, right, like, wake up.
So for anyone who's listening, don't wait for that situation. Start living your life now.
Don't keep pushing yourself so you're too tired, and the thought of laying down in a hospital bed seems appealing. And I think there's a lot of women out there who would, I know how, like my friends and how many women I know and stuff, and how much they try to do, and you try to do and be everything, and it really isn't. Like, it's not obtainable. And now I won't do, because of that, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do overwhelm anymore. And so if I catch myself even getting slightly overwhelmed, I'm like, right, I'm going to rest, I'm going to step back. Or whereas before I would have kept pushing myself, now I know it's really important just to listen to my body, and not to do overwhelm, and not trying to do everything, and to sort of, also like delegate a little bit, like let your partner do things or ask them to do things, and not feel like you've just got to, I've got to do it all, because if I don't do it, who will,
and if you want something doing properly, do it yourself. Thing. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's not done to the level you want.
They're helping you. That's like, just let them help you. It hasn't got to be your way.
It's hard for a lot of women to let go of that, though, isn't it?
And that's the thing. I think the thing that helped me with that as well was when I went into hospital. I was in there for like 11 days at least, and so I had to just let go of everything and just trust that, like, obviously my husband was doing the school run and doing Harrison's packed lunches and things like that, or washing and things that he wouldn't have probably done before.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well,
You
it
put
doesn't
in
matter.
the loads in, right?
Yeah,
Don't mix the whites with the darks, and make
yeah.
sure all the colours are.
It doesn't matter if something like that happens. It doesn't matter if he forgets to send Harrison to school with something. I don't have to be like micromanaging everything. And actually, the letting go is just so freeing in itself. Just not trying to cling to control of everything and manage everything.
Yeah. When my husband offers to cook, he's quite a good cook actually, but I'm always lingering, to make sure he's done it
Yeah,
properly. He's like, bugger off, will you?
exactly. He's just like, I'm going to do this. Let me do it. We
Yeah.
do.
Or you
Yeah,
do it. If you're going to micromanage me, you bloody do it. Yeah. So we need to learn to
stop interfering. Give them the chance to do it, and it doesn't matter. Let them do it their way.
Yeah.
So, but don't try to do everything. It's exhausting.
Well, you're looking lovely for it. So tell us a little bit where you are now, because I know you said to me that you've got a masterclass coming up. So tell us a little bit about that, so that anybody who needs you can know where to find you.
Yeah. So again, like I said, at the end of last year, so it was all last year when I was recovering. So that's when I actually was at home. So I really niched down into where my area of genius and where I've had all my big transformations myself. So then I created my own program, which I was like, I believe that this is all the things that somebody needs to do in this 12 weeks to get the same transformation that I got within 3 months. And then I took my first client through it, my ideal client, through it, and she got the result. She went from saying she'd never felt she'd ever been loved, even though she'd been previously married and stuff, to by the end of it, she changed the patterns. And there was some bumpy bits in the transformation, and then by the end of it, she was attracted to this amazing guy who was exactly even what she'd written down as her perfect manifestation. And he was successful in his own right. He led, he was gentlemanly, he planned the dates, and on their 5th date, he asked her to be his girlfriend. So that was by the end of the 12 weeks that all happened, and they're together now.
Within the 12 weeks.
Yeah. So there was different people,
and she didn't look for it.
No. She was just, so she carried on dating in that 12 weeks. So to start with, still getting, while we're doing the inner work, and I give her full WhatsApp support as well. So I was there to hold her hand every step of the way, and it's just starting to change the patterns of her behaviours as well. So teaching them to do less to receive more, because they're used to wanting to control their situation. So so there was a few people showing up and low effort. They were ghosting, and so it's keeping her mind in the right frame of mind, not letting it be about something about herself, or start telling herself a story about herself. I'm going, no, unless you do, you'll see the right ones will fall away quicker, and then you're not wasting your time. And then there was a point, because actually this one question that when I asked them near the beginning, very right at the beginning, it's how worthy, or do you feel worthy of a really amazing partner, and to be really truly loved and cherished, and the way that you've always wanted. And she couldn't say it, and they can't quite often say it. Or I say on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's quite low. And the difference is there was a point in the journey when, nearer the end of the 12 weeks, just before he showed up, where she was like, oh my god, wholeheartedly so worthy, blah blah blah, all her patterns had changed, and she committed, she did everything I told her to do, and she was rewiring her beliefs in her brain and stuff. And and as soon as I see that happen, he showed up, I think, through one of the dating apps. But this is what I mean, the same type of people don't show up. She'd already started to attract slightly better dates and men who were better quality, but it's still not quite right. And then this guy showed up, pretty much as soon as she was like, yeah, and I believe it, and
can you see the transformation?
Yeah, I just saw how she, you can tell she felt it in every cell of her body. So going from not being able to say it at all, and not believing that, even though that's what she wanted, to being like, oh my god, yeah, absolutely, I know I am, and and she'd filled herself up with love, and and she changed her behaviours, and some sort of self-sabotage without even, it's not conscious.
Yeah.
And so it takes somebody outside of it to go, oh, actually, I can see you're doing this thing here, let's change that. And it would even help her sometimes craft messages, you know, when she's trying to put boundaries in, but to say things it's about communication styles and saying things in a way that's not comes across as aggressive or you know, anything like that. So yeah, but this guy, then it was just effortless from there. It was just like fifth date, he asked her to be his girlfriend. Now this is quite a few months on, and they're like, they've said I love you, they've met each other's families, and she just said thank you, you've changed my life. And it was just like, oh, that's so happy.
So when's your masterclass? And I could share.
Yes.
I can share it when I post this podcast. I can share your link.
The masterclass. It's my first masterclass that I'm doing. So obviously, I'm going to take a part of like my actual program. So what like the paid clients get. So I really want to give good value. So it's going to be on Wednesday next week at 12 o'clock. It's my first time of doing a masterclass. So I'll be grateful for any support or, you know, for people coming along, and hopefully they'll really enjoy it, and and they might be able to take something away that they can use pretty much straight away and implement. And that might just be the one thing that they need. They might be quite close to it. So it's going to be really valuable, hopefully. Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, fabulous. So I'll put all the details when I post this podcast. I'll put all the details for that. So anyone who doesn't believe in themselves and doesn't love themselves can go along and hopefully.
It's like I just keep on attracting all these like emotionally unavailable men, or men that need taking care of, or, you know, just all the wrong ones. If there's a pattern, there'll be a reason for the pattern, but the pattern can be changed. Patterns can be changed. Beliefs can be changed. Your worthiness can be changed. Like all of these things can be changed. So it's just knowing exactly how.
Yeah, well, I've had my fair share of a few bad apples as well in my time, in my 56 years. But yeah, I got rid of them quite quickly, and luckily I let them man that I was supposed to be. So that was all good.
And
well, thank you so much.
You're loved, right? Like, everybody wants to be loved, don't they? They just want, you know, like it's a human, like fundamental need to be loved. And when you're loved, right, if you glow, don't you? Everything.
You do. Yeah. And I think. I think I also got rid of a few good ones who I should have kept hold of as well, because I put my dad on a pedestal, and I always didn't think anyone was as good as him. You know, he was a role model.
It can be
the other way.
A good experience, or like, or, you know, or like a bad experience, because then it could be almost, they're so great that it could be unobtainable, and you're putting everyone against them. So like you say,
no one's good enough then. And then I met my husband, who's very similar to my dad, and now I hold it against him. I go, "Oh, you're just like my dad."
That's what you were looking for.
Yeah, my own fault. Okay, thank you so much for giving your time up today to talk to me. It's been a delight talking to you, and I'm so glad that you're fit and healthy now, and you know, and you're looking fabulous. You look happy, and you look like you love yourself. So that's.
Oh, thank you, Jo. Thanks so much.
Thank you, darling. Take care. Bye.